Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Tournament Takes. Today is January 2nd, 2021, day two. Draftkings NBA slate five gamer today. I did pretty well yesterday. I think a lot of games are blowing out more and more as we're seeing in the NBA. So, I had a decent core, which ended up cashing. I had Giannis 100%, Levine 100%, and Levine didn't do great, but Giannis kind of salvaged the day for me. And I had a lot of Derrick Jones Jr., which also had I think he had like five steals or something like that. So ended up working out. It was a slight loss, but not something that was drastic, So live to fight another day. If you guys like this information I'm sharing, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And, I'll be able to bring you guys more content that'll help you guys take down your GVP. So today it's about 3 o'clock on the West Coast. We have about an hour until lock, a little under an hour until lock. So I kind of want to get into to the core plays here. It's only a five-game slate. On a five-game slate, guys, you do want to take some significant stands, right? So we're seeing that, on New York, we got news that Nicotina's out. We got news Dennis Smith's out. Quickly, Alec Burks is out. So RJ Barrett's prices come up a lot. I think Reggie Bullock here is in a really good spot. I also do like a little bit of Alfred Payton, but it's kind of hard to trust him. For the most part, I see this another game, as we're seeing a trend in the NBA, games blowing out. I could see that this is another trend that could potentially, this game could possibly blow out because essentially Indy, for the most part, is at full strength, except with the exception of TJ Warren. But Sabonis is there. I think Doug McDermott's gonna get the start. Sabonis priced way up, and I told you guys early on in the season, as soon as NBA started, he started around 7,400 in the same matchup against New York. He's 9,400 now, guys. So it's something that you really got to pay attention to and kind of see if this is a spot that you really want to pay up for, or you want to take some other stabs on the slate, which I think are also good spots. He's in a good spot, no doubt, but I don't see New York keeping this game close today, guys. So that's kind of one thing. On a five gamer, I'm kind of taking a few stands that I think that you guys should do as well. As far as Cleveland and Atlanta, that's probably my favorite game on the slate. Again, like I said, anytime anyone plays Cleveland or they play Atlanta, they get into shootout. And it just so happens today they're playing against each other. So this is kind of like one of the fastest paced games. It's also the highest total on the slate. I could see this game absolutely shooting out. I could also absolutely see it blowing out. But, for both these teams don't really play defense. So I'm starting my builds here today, guys. I'm going to just give you guys, I'm not going to go game by game. I'm going to give you guys a core of where I want to go. I really like Clint Capela today, guys. He's had a good history against Andre Drummond. We saw the minutes finally tick up against Brooklyn, 30 minutes, 35 fantasy points. There's really nobody else behind him at center. Maybe Bruno Fernando, but they're starting to give him more minutes. And I think today they announced that his minutes restriction is going to be lifted. So I really like him in this spot. I also do like John Collins a lot. For me, I'm going to be circling all my builds starting with this game today, guys. So for me, I really like Clint Capella. I think Trae Young against Cleveland. Cleveland has not been great against guards. He's also in a really good spot. He provides that high upside. Though it's a little bit tapered this year. It seems like every other game he's having a ceiling game, but it's a little bit tapered because you do have Bogdanovich, you do have Cam Reddish, who's now in the starting lineup. You have DeAndre Hunter, who's in the starting lineup. So all these players are actually putting up shots, which is affecting Trae Young's usage a little bit. As far as the power forward goes, I do like John Collins on this team as well. He only played 25 minutes against Brooklyn, 36 fantasy points. He's really cheap, guys, at 7,500. It's somewhere where I think I want to go as far as like a pivot from Sabonis. I will have some Sabonis in my lineups. I think I'm playing five lineups today, so I will have some Sabonis, but I think 7,500 John Collins, at that 2,000 almost price discount, same fantasy point per minute. I feel like he also does have that ceiling that Sabonis has. He could also go out and get you 55 points, especially in a matchup against Cleveland. So that's something you guys want to really keep, your eye on. Larry Nance into the starting lineup. Now Kevin Love is out again, injured. Andre Drummond priced up again, 9,200. Great spot for him against Cleveland. So there's a lot of teams that are in, or this particular game, there's a lot of players that are in good spots. Andre Drummond has been great against Cleveland, but against Atlanta, but also at the same time, I think Larry Nance has been, a really, really good play with Kevin Love out. He's taking shots. We're seeing that he's getting minutes, 43 minutes against New York, 36 minutes against Indy. When he's getting the starts, he's playing huge minutes. So especially against a team like Atlanta. I think Larry Nance could absolutely crush this price tag here. So he's like on the borderline of my core build right now. The other player I really, really like from this team is Darius Garland. So Darius Garland has been playing again those huge, huge, huge minutes. The matchup against Atlanta is fantastic, and he's taking 15 shots, about 15 shots or so a game. So his ceiling is probably like 40 to 45 fantasy points. I mean, we saw him put up a 53 point a game against Detroit. He kind of reminds me of Kobe White, from the Spurs. He gets that additional usage. He gets the shots. So, Exum is starting. Sexton, they're starting to bring off the bench now. So Dante Exum's going to be starting today. He's another good play. I think he played 28 minutes and got the start last game. He's also in a really, really good spot. For me though, I think the number one option from this team right now, even though I really like Drummond and I like Nance, I really want to get pieces of Darius Garland because Atlanta has been pretty bad against the point guard and against the threes. So these are the two players that I'm starting the day with. I'm going to give you guys the core, my core build. So these are going to be my core. Again, I said I'm only playing 5 lineups. So the core that I'm giving you guys, these guys are going to be in every single one of those 5 lineups. It's going to be these guys and just circling the rest of the positions essentially. The third core, I don't want to go game by game. I just want to kind of tell you guys the players that I'm on and kind of which positions that I think you guys should be taking advantage of. So on Toronto and New Orleans, this game should be a lot closer. It's probably the second highest total on the slate. Toronto has not been good against scoring wings. That leads me to Brandon Ingram. I had plenty of Brandon Ingram last time around against OKC. And OKC hasn't been good against the shooting guard wing positions. I liked JJ Redick in that game, and then I thought, okay, well, if a lot of people are playing Zion Williamson, and I like the wing position, why not take a shot on Brandon Ingram? And it just so happened that Zion had a tougher matchup against OKC, or like not even a tougher matchup. I mean, Zion just wasn't getting the usage as Brandon Ingram is getting. Brandon Ingram's taking a bunch of shots. So I really really liked him that game. Unfortunately, he got ejected, which kind of killed the upside. I think it was I was one player swap off from taking down the $365 buy-in tournament. But overall, I really really like Brandon Ingram again today. We've seen in the past that New Orleans is not. I mean, Toronto is not able to guard the scoring wing, and their scoring win right now is Brandon Ingram, and he is going to get the minutes. You do have Bledsoe there, which kind of muddies things up. He could have a big game. You have Lonzo Ball there, kind of muddies things up. But overall, like if people are going to be playing Zion Williamson today, I really, really like, Brandon Ingram. And I think he comes out a little pissed off from getting ejected in that last game. And you kind of see him really come here and try to take over, especially this is the game that we saw first time around. Ingram dropped 61 fantasy points. And I think game log watchers are going to look at this. So I expect his ownership to be up a little. And I think it's warranted. While I don't think he can put up to 61 again, or I don't think he will put up to 61 again, he absolutely can. And at 8,000, you really, really just need a 50 game from him, to have a ceiling 40 plus, 10 or 15 points. And I think that he can get that ceiling game here against Toronto, even with Siakam back in the lineup, right? So, Siakam being back in the lineup as well, it kind of helps the narrative that this game may stay a little bit closer than we think. So while a lot of people may go to Cleveland and Atlanta, I think not smarter, but I think the sharper players are going to be stacking New Orleans and Toronto. Charlotte and Philly also is another really, really good spot. Charlotte has been significantly better this year. And then this guy's been my nemesis, essentially. I have not been able to get this guy right. Like the games that I'm on him, he kind of busts. The games that I'm not on him, he decides to put up 53 fantasy points against Toronto. And this is kind of why a lot of people I think are going to be on Zion Williamson. They both kind of play the same position, that power forward position. But I kind of think, Tobias is kind of more of a wing scoring type player, which is why I like Ingram. But I think Tobias Harris in this game is a really, really good spot. He's probably someone I'm going to be looking heavily at, especially if you're not paying up for Sabonis or Randall. I think Randall is too damn expensive at 9,100. Now I get that he's getting a lot more assists than he was last year. He's getting the rebounding that he wasn't getting last year. This is just, I guess you can call it history bias. I mean, with DFS, you have to have a very short memory and kind of see what the trends are. And the trend is he's getting a ton more opportunities. He's essentially running the backup point guard, or like the point guard. He's bringing the ball up the floor, so his usage is through the roof this year as well. So 9,100, I don't think it's it's a too high of a salary on DraftKings, but for me it's a little too high, especially when we were looking at playing Julius Randle last year about 7,100 to like $7,500. This is a pretty big jump up. So for me, if I'm paying that 91, I think I might just pay the extra $300 to get Sabonis. So you'll see Julius Randle's ownership really depressed, and I think that'll make him a good kind of GPP play if you guys want to get some leverage there. But Sabonis, I would again put into my core, but once you put Sabonis in, you really don't have much left over in terms of salary. So today's pricing structure on DraftKings is very tight. I do have some value plays with Garland and Capela and Ingram. I think one more value play that I want to focus on, and I'll give you guys actually two more value plays that I think you should focus on. One more being George Hill. George Hill from the OKC, right? So George Hill is going up against Orlando. He did not play that first game out, and George Hill has been getting 24 to 25 minutes. He's not a great fantasy, about a one fantasy point producer, one fantasy point per minute producer. So you could see him get 25. If the game is close, he could definitely 6x his tag here. So I think he's in a really good spot. But with the news on the other side, on Orlando side of Evan Fournier being out, Terrence Ross has crushed the spot before. OKC again is not great on the wings. Terrence Ross exited that game. I don't know if he exited that game or what it was. Maybe he didn't have such a great game. I don't remember. Maybe I think his hamstring tightened up or whatever it was. He didn't get that last rotation. He only got 25 as opposed to getting the 31 minutes that he normally gets. So, I think he's in a good spot. Something that I am going to kind of be taking shots on. On the OKC side, I also do want to mention Isaiah Roby is starting to pop for me a little bit. At 3,800, I feel like he is a good value play. I'm not sure how many minutes he's going to get with Horford back today, so it's something I kind of want to see shake out. If you guys are playing deeper, large entry field tournaments, I think this is someone that you could take a shot on. I really like him, so maybe out of my five lineups, he'll make one of the builds against Orlando. But on Cleveland, let's go back to Cleveland real quick. I think Dante Exum should be in your core builds, guys. Like he's getting the start. He's 3,600, and this is Atlanta. So you know, even if he's 40% owned, if he's 40% owned and he goes for 28 fantasy points, you're kind of dead because it's really hard to make up that kind of $3,600 value on a 5-game slate from players that are 3,000, especially when you don't have. Yeah, I mean, you have some people in that $3,000 price range, that $3,600, $3,500 price range, but it's really hard to make that make that up. I think people will also be playing Michael Carter Williams in their slates. So people might be doing something like that or playing let's take Carter Williams. Let's play him at the forward, right? I think like with Evan Fournier out, people are definitely going to flock to Michael Carter Williams. He is getting the start, so he should play 26, 27 minutes, which I think is not a bad spot for him. But you guys also do remember that Terrence Ross is there. Now this is not like football, but there is a lot of running, and Terrence Ross is also coming back from a hamstring injury. So I think that this is something to be keep an eye on. If that injury kind of flares up, I think the beneficiary will definitely be Michael Carter Williams. So I think on a 5-game slate, this is kind of what you guys are starting with. So you notice, guys, that you're gonna have about 7,000 left. You have enough value here because I think Capela in this spot can 8x his tag. I really think he can go for 40 against Cleveland. So you guys kind of got to decide. In this spot, you can go back to Cleveland game. On the other side, if you guys wanted to play Andre Drummond, you could do that. If you wanted to play, even Larry Nance here at 6,900, you can do that, and it still leaves you about $6,900 for a shooting guard. You can play someone like, an RJ Barrett, which I'm not really going to do. Oladipo against New York is not bad. I think he had a decent outing the first time around. 35 fantasy points, not a bad price. His prices come up a little bit, but I think Brogdon's going to be highly owned, because of the game that he had first time around against New York, 46 fantasy points. He was 6,200. His prices come up to 1,200, so it's a good pivot there. Oladipo is a good pivot off of Brogdon because I think Brogdon will get some ownership. If you don't want to play Drummond, maybe you just play Larry Nance, and then you want to take some value. I mean, not value. You want to take the stud and Sabonis, and then it leaves you 6,700 for shooting guard. So like you can do both. You can play Oladipo and Sabonis. You can play, Oladipo and Drummond. Larry Nance, I think, is someone that I really want to try to get into my builds. I also think at the power forward, guys, you guys can, like I said, this nemesis of mine is Tobias Harris. I think you can even play Tobias Harris here at the power forward. And also, like I said, I do like John Collins as well. So you can also play John Collins. Again, leaves you about 8,000 or so for a shooting guard. So maybe Yeah, maybe you play someone like a Fred VanVleet, right? Or maybe you go from Exum and then you see if you can get a cheap shooting guard from maybe one of those values. Like if you play, um, if you play Fred VanVleet here, then you maybe get a cheap, one of those OKC guards like Hamidou Diallo. I think Hamidou Diallo was chalk in this matchup a few games ago, and he actually did very well. And today, not really anyone's talking about him because of all the other value that we had. He only played 22 minutes, and I think also we had news here on this side that there were some people out. Oh yeah, George Hill was out that game, so I think that's kind of why his ownership might be a little depressed. But you can play him. You can play 4100. You can play um, Norman Powell, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how did he do the first time around. Not great. His salaries come down. Austin Rivers might actually get a bump with Burks now out. I think Austin Rivers, a cheap nick, might be make sense. Aaron Holiday is going to be in the starting lineup with T.J. Warren out, someone that you could play. But for me, I think I'm just going to be, instead of going with Fred VanVleet here, I think I'm going to be playing the value in Dante Exum. Just 3,600 again. I feel like it's going to be hard to ignore. And then, like I said, you could go. You don't have to play Carter Williams. You can decide you want to play Collins. You want to play Tobias Harris. You want to play cheap. I think the power forward on this slate is really loaded. You could play someone like Sabonis here, and then that actually doesn't fit. But you guys see what I'm kind of trying to do. If I'm telling you guys what my core is, guys, it's going to be these three guys right here, or you can say these three: Garland, Ingram, Capela, and then maybe Exum. Like Exum, I'm really, really, trying to figure out what I want to do with. But I think 6,000 Darius Garland is solid. You might also see some people like maybe these three are their cores. Maybe instead of Darius Garland, I think from Orlando with Fournier out, you see some people pivot to Fultz, So I think that's going to be a really, really good play as well. I'm not on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I know some people are going to be playing him. I think he's going to be chalk. I get it. I get the usage. I just, I don't, it's not somewhere where I want to go. So that's not going to be a build. I think for the $7,900 price tag, regardless, on at 7,900 you're paying for, essentially you're weighing all the positions because there's value at point guard and there's value at power forward and forward. You're weighing your positions, right? So for me to pay 7,900 for Shea means I'm passing up on maybe a $7,900 Zion or a $7,500 John Collins or Tobias Harris essentially, or even maybe paying up to get Sabonis. To me, it's not worth it on this slate to go with someone that I'm not confident in, especially since it's a short slate. I want to kind of take stands. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'll give you guys the bottom two. If you guys had to just take anything from this video, I think these are two players that I'm going to have win 100% of my lineups. It's going to be Brandon Ingram and Capela. And I think that both of them are great spots. I think this guy can, Capela can 8x, and I think, Ingram can easily 4x his tag. Not 4x, like 6x his tag. So I really, really like this, guys. Start with these two, and then, you can decide if you want to. I think it's between Darius Garland for me and Markelle Fultz. But for me, I'm kind of leaning with that environment in Cleveland and Atlanta, so I like Garland. And I also think that, some people can play, I would play both of them, Exum and Garland together. You have Sexton there as well. So I would play both these together. I think what you'll see a lot of people do is they'll play Exum, and then since they won't want two people together on the same team, they'll play Markelle Fultz. So both ways are viable. I think both are solid. But for me, to get a little bit more contrarian tournaments, I'll probably play both Garland and Dante Exum together. And then if I am playing this many Cleveland guys, I want the game to stay closer. So I will probably be bringing it back with either John Collins, or if I can find a way, honestly, to get up to Trae Young. But I think guard is so loaded today with the value that I feel like the power forward position is somewhere where you should be paying up. And I think the power forward is also loaded with the 7K value. So what I'm saying by that is I think if you can find guards that are around 6K, 5K or so, as opposed to 8K, I think the money is better spent on this 5 gamer, spending that money at the power forward position, especially since you're getting some stability with Sabonis. I feel like Sabonis can go out there and do solid. One thing I do want to mention is that Tristan Thompson, Miles Turner has been playing a lot better, and he's been getting a tick up in minutes. Last year, the concern with him was he was only playing 25 minutes a game. He's been playing a lot more minutes, and he's been racking up blocks. I mean, in this matchup against New York, he had 8 blocks. I don't expect him to do that again, but a couple blocks are not out of the question. I think another one on the other side, if you guys are not playing Julius Randle, I think Mitchell Robinson at 5,400 is extremely cheap. You can go something like this, and then try to figure out a cheap shooting guard position. Maybe like I said, Reggie Bullock. With Burks gone, if you're playing Sabonis in a lineup like that, that may be something that you guys want to do. So that's it, guys. That's what we have going on for today. Garland, let's see what 6,400. Let's see what that can get us. Devontae Graham. So I know I really didn't touch on this Charlotte and Philadelphia game. Overall, I don't like the game environment too much. I think Embiid is a great pay up option. I think a lot of people are going to be playing Capela, and Charlotte historically has been bad against rebound. People, big centers rebounding. But they've been better this year, so I don't really know what I want to do with Joel Embiid. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to him because of the price tag. 10K. I think Sabonis has the upside, to be honest with you, that Embiid has, and it's crazy to say because Sabonis has been coming on crazy this last few games. Look at his minutes. His minutes are through the roof. His fantasy production is through the roof. He's filling up the stat sheet. He's a guy that you guys want to get to, even at this $9,400 price tag. I think people are going to be scared off. Um, I do like I said, playing a few 7K guys, but I really, really might try to get, now that I think about it, I might really try to get Sabonis into my lineups, because I really think that he provides that upside that these 10K guys, someone like even a Trae Young can provide, and he has a double double, potentially even triple double upside, which I don't think Trae Young is bringing as much this season as he was in seasons past. So that's it, guys. Good luck today, and I will see you guys back here hopefully for the next video tomorrow or maybe later on this week. I may be taking a hiatus for a little while. Work is getting kind of busy for me, so I kind of want to focus on that a little bit. This is not my day job, but whenever I get a chance to record and get something out for you guys, I will do that. If not, please check my Twitter down below. If I don't get a chance to get a video and I'm playing the slate, I'll at least tweet the plays that I'm thinking about. Okay, good luck today, guys, and I'll see you guys back here with the next slate. Talk to you soon.